Thank you all for being here to start, changing up our location, getting all of our things in place. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There's some agendas around. Hopefully everyone got a chance to take a look, have some presentations, conversations, and we're just going to jump into it because we're all eager. Cool. Welcome. So to start, we're going to adopt our agenda, and also we are hoping to vote for an additional 15 minutes for this meeting to extend it to 8:15 if needed. We were unaware of the additional candidates for running for our local city council position at Ward 7. So that's part of the reason that we wanted to make sure to try to add a little bit of extra time to hear from that candidate and to allow folks to ask questions and be engaged with that. So I'm going to propose that we add 15 minutes to the meeting. All in favor of that, please raise your hand. Okay, that's a lot. All against that, raise your hand. Okay, that is one, I see. And if there's anybody who abstains, you can abstain now. No abstaining. Okay, that is a vote to extend the meeting to 8:15. Thank you so much. So we can jump right into our agenda now without taking too much more time. And just a quick review of our ground rules. We listen to each other, we treat others respectfully, share our opinion politely, and we do respect our agenda and process, and of course be kind, just always. Thank you. And so we do, the first other agenda point is our open forum. So this is opportunity for folks to share upcoming events, issues that you find that you want to talk about at probably a next meeting, because full agenda tonight. But if you wanted to share anything, open forum, see Linda's hand. That's somebody saying hi, but somebody else, open forum. Okay, and yeah, we'll pass the microphones around, and we do ask to keep it to about a minute or so that we can get as many voices as we can. So we're going to start with that. Without further ado, I will hand the mic off. Thanks, Linda.
Hi, I'm here from the North End Food Pantry. Just wanted to thank everybody who's been donating to us and the food drives and the clothing drive. Especially, we have the last couple months have been a little slow on the clothing. I think it's due to weather, etc. So I just wanted to remind you that we always have that on the last Sunday of the month from 11 to 1. So if you have anything that you don't wear anymore and you want to save it and bring it to us, that would be great. And also want to give you an idea that we're now serving between 60 and 75 guests every Saturday and 60 and 75 guests every Sunday. We are not part of the Vermont Food Bank, which means our application's still pending, which means that we rely on any corporate grants and donations and contributions from our neighbors. So again, thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can certainly come see me, or you can check out our website. And we love to have volunteers. In fact, there's several people here, a couple of them sitting at my table, who come and volunteer with us. And it's a really wonderful opportunity to get out and meet some of your fellow neighbors.
Thank you, Linda. The next person, go ahead. I mean, if you're able, Charlie mentioned that it would be easier if you stand up here, but if you're able and willing.
Is that better, Charlie? Oh, okay.
We can see you. Sorry to put you on the spot,
but
I can stand with you if you want.
Thanks.
And anybody else
I appreciate the support. Hi, my name is Lizzie Post. I live on North Avenue, right over by Flynn School. And currently there is a survey from DPW about the temporary speed humps that were put in at the end of summer and during the fall. I'm really here to beg my neighbors to, sorry, slow down. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to keep it to the minute. I'm really here to beg my neighbors to please fill out the survey and fill it out for options other than the speed humps. Whenever the bus or large vehicles wouldn't slow down for the humps, about 12 houses on the avenue would shake. This would happen 5 to 20 times a day from 5:30 in the morning until 10:45 at night. We are a varied group of homes with lots of different reasons why this disturbance is too much to handle. So I ask you to please, while I know everyone has their own opinion, if you could fill it out for the bump outs or for an other option other than the speed humps. We really don't want to have to move. We don't want to have our home shaking that much. It caused great distress to many of us. So thank you. I saw that.
I saw Monica's hand, and then we have one other person. Oh, are you on the same? I'm not worried. Oh, okay, sorry. I will jump to you in the line.
Hi, everyone. I'm Monica Ivancic, and I'm the Ward 7 School Commissioner. And I want to let everyone know that one of the ballot items on the March 7 Town Meeting Day ballot is commissioner pay for school board members. So, you know, City Council does a lot of service for you, so does the school board. The school board has never gotten paid, so we don't get a cent. We think that we need better representation on the board. We want people who need childcare or people who have other barriers from serving on the board. Essentially, typically, it's usually mostly middle-class folks who can afford you know, to go to meetings in the evenings. So I urge you to vote yes on this ballot measure. It would give school commissioners $2,000 apiece. So there's 12 commissioners, so that would total $24,000. This will not increase your taxes. The 140 million school budget that I'll be speaking about in half an hour or so already includes money towards the school board that's typically used for trainings or occasionally dinners. And so this would just divert that money and then make it possible for school board members to, you know, give us more freedom to get to these meetings and our dedication.
Thank you, Monica. We had one other person back there, then you, and I also saw someone online as well, so.
Do you want to come help me? Hi, my name's Emily. I'm in Ward 4, and less of a announcement, but more, I'm just, as many of you, I'm sure, are watching the news, and I'm thinking a lot about like rapid response readiness for our neighborhood. And I'm just wondering what we would like to do as a neighborhood to be prepared for ICE coming here. And I'm hoping that we could like talk about that at one of these meetings, that maybe that could be like on our agenda, that we could plan to kind of work through like what levels of risk are we comfortable with? How do we want to handle this? Like what roles do we all want to play? And so I'm new to the NPA meetings, and so is my family, and so I'm not sure if this is an appropriate ask, but this was what I was thinking about, and I was hoping we could talk about it.
Thank you so much. And Bernie, there you go.
I'm Bernie Carver. I want to cordially invite all of you to a free play at the First Unitarian Universalist Society on February 13th at 7 p.m. It's called One Family in Gaza, and it's referred to as a modern version of the Diary of Anne Frank. There will be a discussion afterwards, and the author will attend. So I have some brochures about it. If you like one, please see me.
Thank you. And we're going to invite Olivia Taylor online to unmute and share.
Hi everyone, I'm so sorry I am not there in person. I am getting a lot of echo, I'm sorry, but I just had dental surgery today, so I am not in the best shape. I just want to say hi. I'm the Ward 7 clerk, and I am going to be organizing and running our upcoming elections with the first one, as you all know, Tuesday, March 3rd. I'm just looking for friendly people to work the election on that day. You would direct voters, hand out ballots, assist with voter registration. You just have to be a registered voter in Burlington, not specifically Ward 7. No experience is required. Training is provided and you get paid. So if you want to reach out to me, I will also post on Front Porch Forum with my email and phone number. I think, especially in the world right now, I'm feeling much more connected to making sure we have strong elections locally. So if you are feeling restless and want something to do, Ward 7 election team, we need some support. Thank you.
Thanks, Olivia. We have time for one more. Joanne? You can stay there if it's too much to walk.
Hi, I'm Joanne Hunt. I'm on the steering committee, but I'm actually just speaking for everybody. I'm from Minnesota. I have family in Minneapolis, one of whom's an immigration lawyer, and I'm a former ICU nurse. So this one's hitting me hard, but it really is heartening to see all the people here because this is what we really need. So thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Okay. Thank you all for those announcements. Definitely Ward 7 voting clerk. Get on that. And yeah, sounds like good for open forum. And so we're going to move along to our next agenda item, which is a presentation from some folks from the city of our ballot items and our upcoming town meeting. Starting with Mayor Mulvaney-Stanek.
Thank you. And hi, everyone. Nice to see you all again. And actually, we're going to reverse our topics. We're here to talk about what is on the ballot. And I'm going to first introduce Dr. Kelly Perkins, our REIB director, who will talk about the REIB charter question that is on. And then I'm going to be Vanna and hand out handouts while you talk. How about that?
All right, very good. I love it. So greet us, Ward 4 and 7. It's so lovely to be here with you all tonight. And I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talk to you about the proposed charter change to make the Office of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging a part of our city charter and a permanent part of our city government. My name is Kelly Perkins. I am the current director of REIB, and I thank you for joining us for this important conversation. I have 4 goals today. To 1, talk to you about the proposed charter change, right? Let you know what voters are being asked to decide on. Talk about what REIB currently is doing, what is our scope of work, and what are the implications for Burlingtonians. Next slide. All right, and so on March 3rd, Burlingtonians are being asked to cast their votes to decide whether or not the Office of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging will become a permanent part of the city's charter. As many of you, I'm sure, know, the city's charter is a foundational document that outlines the organization, powers, and functions of our city government, including which offices and functions are permanent, right, that are the baseline for how our government will operate. While equity and inclusion efforts have been a part of Burlington's initiatives since the early 2000s, at least documented, incorporating REIB into the city's charter makes those efforts a permanent part of the city government infrastructure. To help inform your decision, I'll briefly explain the REIB's work and its significance within city governments thus far. Next slide. Consider us, so that we're talking the same language. What is equity and inclusion? What's DEI in city government, right? They are practical tools for evaluating how our systems work, right? They help us to look at how city services policies and our workplaces are designed, who they reach, and whether they work effectively for the people who rely on them. This is about systems and outcomes, not individual beliefs. All right, Burlington is the second most diverse city in our great state of Vermont, with residents that have different languages, different abilities, ages, incomes, lived experience, you name it. Recognizing this difference among us helps us to understand that we can't have a one-size-fits-all approach to our work. Equity means recognizing that people don't start from the same place. Many of us here had different experiences as children, as teens. We have different educational backgrounds. And when we recognize this, fair access sometimes requires that we have different approaches for folks, like accessible buildings, captioned videos, flexible work arrangements, multiple ways to engage with city services, right? Translation services. Inclusion focuses on whether people feel welcomed, informed, and are able to participate fully in their city government. So when we apply the DEI lens, our city systems work better and serve the whole community more effectively, because everyone can find their place for belonging. Next slide, please. And so what is REIB's current scope of work? Some examples of how we worked across the city government with stakeholders to ensure that the city services are effective, fair, accessible, and informed by the needs of the people who rely on them include supporting city departments in developing policies, procedures, and coordination of services to assure consistency and accessibility. We also provide training, education, and guidance for city staff, for boards, for city councilors, for commissions, and for the Burlington School District. We also create structured and informal ways for community members to engage directly with city government. Many of you know about our Trusted Community Voices program. They are representatives of our 7 largest immigrant refugee communities in Burlington. They bring lived experience and community insight to inform city programs, projects, and policy implementation. Community conversations on topics impacting our community. We've partnered with special assistants in homelessness to engage community members in this really important topic. And we also hold monthly REIB City Council committee meetings where constituents have an opportunity to engage with city councilors and REIB staff. So why does any of this matter? One, it helps our city and community respond to diverse and community-identified needs. It helps us to branch inclusive governance. The city of Burlington is one of the most diverse cities in the state, again, and so, as such, we have a responsibility to prioritize work that fosters inclusivity by reflecting the diverse identities, needs, and experiences of our fellow community members. Diversity, DEI, also supports a strong local economy. It strengthens economic opportunity. Studies show that diverse and inclusive environments contribute to innovation, creativity, and productivity, enhancing the overall economic vitality of the city, creating job growth, and attracting new businesses. It also brings diverse perspectives into city decision-making and builds trust. We enhance community well-being and community resilience by addressing systemic barriers and fostering an inclusive environment. We create stronger social fabric for all of us that promotes trust, collaboration, and belonging. This approach not only benefits individuals from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds, but also enhances the quality of life for our entire community, right? It leads us all to be more engaged, more resilient, and for us to have a thriving city where we all feel valued and like we can fully participate. Last slide, please. So before I turn it over to the mayor to speak about the budget for FY27, I wanted to clear up some things. This vote asks you only whether the Office of Equity, Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging should be a permanent part of our city government, a core function. This isn't new work for Burlington, right? Right now, REIB is the manner in which it is operationalized. But Burlington has been doing this work for a long time now. For decades, city departments have been addressing equity, access, and inclusion. REIB simply provides coordination, expertise, and continuity of the work that already exists. Decisions about staffing and funding remain a part of the regular budget discussion, and so they're separate from the decision about whether or not this office is chartered. For context, REIB makes up about 7.7% of the general fund budget. It has never exceeded 1% of funding from our general fund. So we're doing a lot with a little, all right? And like all general fund city departments, REIB is currently also finding ways to pinch pennies without hurting services, so that we can have a balanced budget in the future. In tough budget years, we need this coordination all the more so that we're ensuring that services that are minimized, cut, reduced, are not negatively impacting people who are already super marginalized. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kelly. On the handout, there are actually 4 items on the ballot. Kelly and I are speaking to items 2 and 3 if you're following along. And I'm going to go through a number of slides related to our fiscal year 27 budget. I'm standing in for our CAO, Catherine Shaw, tonight. Those QR codes will bring you right to a website page that will provide you more information, everything that I'll be covering here. So no need to desperately take down notes. So thank you, Barbara. So our fiscal year 27 budget is well underway with being developed. If you could go up to next slide. And I want to start first with the assumptions we made in building the budget. Burlington actually has a very interesting process that's different than even our school district and pretty much any other town. And if I had a magic wand, I would have us start in September, because we have had the practice for decades where we sometimes have to ask you about a tax increase before the details of the budget have been developed. Per charter, the mayor is charged, much like the governor, of giving a budget in detail as a proposal to the legislative body, which is the council. But it's been the practice, for whatever reason, it's probably longer than I've been alive, where this has not been delivered until essentially May. That makes it hard to get into the details. So we've been each year since I've been mayor moving things consciously earlier, but it's very hard to move a system that quickly, that fast. So we are presenting with you details that hopefully give you the context so you feel informed on your vote on town meeting day. So the assumptions behind the expense side, of course, there's personnel. It's one of the largest aspects of running any organization and certainly city government. Some of our assumptions here, I'm not going to be that person who reads every bullet, so bear with me. But we did settle 2 contracts. BFFA, it represents, that's the Firefighters Union acronym. We did settle a contract and agreed to 2 new firefighter positions. That is part of safe staffing and it was studied a few years ago. It keeps our frontline workers safe. Those are the percentages, which are actually quite fair when you look at settlements in terms of the COLA increases in our region. We, of course, want to stay competitive. It helps us with recruitment. BFFA is, again, the fire union. BPOA is the police officer union. In order to help us with recruitment and rebuilding our department, we consciously made investments in those contracts for those frontline workers. AFSCME, which represents the vast majority of the rest of the city, contract negotiations begin in the next month or 2, and that will impact, of course, next year's budget as well. Next slide. Thank you. So obviously there is annual step increases, which is a cost of living increase for employees who are eligible. Our healthcare cost, I can spend an hour talking to you of how I simply think we need to blow up the insurance system. It is crushing. I mean, I could be here for a whole hour. I want you to know, we have a self-insured program, and probably in the 90s, it was a very forward-thinking way to cut costs and be able to be in charge of our own destiny. There are no good options at this moment, which is why I think we have to blow it up. But it is a significant cost. It was the first year, the second year, and now the 3rd year I've been mayor. We are trying our best, but as a self-insured pool, we have certain costs that are automatic, and everyone's seeing double digits. It is a crushing part of our budget increase. Looking at our retirement and workers' compensation, of course, every item is going up, and so this is just part of our assumptions so that we don't underestimate what these fixed costs really are in our system. Next slide. The last part on the assumptions here, The cost of everything is going up. The 3% is an assumption we made on all the other operating expenses in all of our departments. And then, of course, when we think about other aspects that are critical to community safety, that includes the vehicles. Fleet is the word we use. I really thank the voters who were able to dig deep and support the GO bond last March. That's the general obligation bond that helped us with the big ones, the big trucks, the fire trucks, the large, very expensive, they're $1 million big vehicles that we have. Our smaller fleet are just as important, the police officer vehicles, those kinds of smaller vehicles, and we are way behind in doing the critical investments. So we're adding this into our operating budget next year, at least elements, because we can't keep kicking it down the road. I did a ride-along the other day with a police officer. I felt really bad. I was like, it's pressure enough to ride with the mayor. His tech system thing, computer thing, that he's interfacing with all the calls and Valcor and whatnot, kept glitching, and the poor guy had to kept rebooting it while we were responding to calls. We can do better, we must do better, and we have to make sure we are doing responsible investments. Next slide. So how are we looking at the revenue side of things? And this brings us to the point of the question that we are bringing to voters on town meeting day. Next slide. A little context, a lot of our revenue comes from, of course, our grand lists. Property taxes are one of the major ways we raise revenue in the city. I want to educate folks a little bit because when you have a sluggish grand list, for which Burlington has had for over a decade now, it has only grown about 1% on average. When I mention all those other cost of living increases, way higher than 1%. So if our growth is not keeping up with even the basic rates of inflation year after year, we start to fall behind. It's a very easy math kind of concept that our operating expenses continue to start to exceed what we're generally bringing in the door. Very briefly, some of the reasons behind that sluggish grand list is that we have a lot of property that can't be taxed in the city. We have UVM, Champlain, a lot of nonprofits, the city itself. And of course, we're trying to accelerate our housing strategy. I can come back and talk about that anytime, but that doesn't happen overnight. So our grand list is what it is at the moment. We have strategies to accelerate and grow, but in terms of next year, it is not a revenue source that is going to keep up with what we need for our expenses. Thank you. Yep, go ahead. The other reality is that we have relied on one-time funds as a city, as has the state and as have a lot of municipalities. We are not alone, I want to be clear, but it really inflated sources of revenue that are not able to be sustained. ARPA, COVID-related funds, sometimes state grants, other things eventually end. And the city did not have the best practices to put on sustainable revenues to be swapped out when those particular things ended. So we started some very important programs and staffing, but we're not able to continue without putting that right to the general fund, which is, again, back to where we bring revenue from property taxes. We are working to accelerate a couple of other areas that we can do better in, which is making sure we're doing more to increase the collections of delinquent fees or property taxes. It's not something we've done very consistently in the city. We're going to make sure we accelerate there. And we're also trying to make sure that our budgets are really meeting the numbers that we're estimating. It's been a little hard to do that, to be honest, with how unpredictable the Trump administration has been on our economy, to be frank. The impacts on Canada, it's impacting, I talked to a lot of mayors, so when we estimate on gross receipts, we each year have had to get a little bit more conservative because there is local impact on people's coming to tourists and other elements of our economy we rely on. Go ahead. So that means that we have now estimated a structural budget gap of $10 to $12 million. I talked about again before about this is a chronic issue. We are slowly fixing it, but it is not something that can be fixed overnight in one budget cycle. When I began, I started to realize we're on a 3 to 5 year improvement plan here to make sure we can get the structural budget gap underhand. Next slide. Under control, whatever underhand means. Okay, so these are the options that we have for closing that budget gap, just very briefly. Essentially a 3-part strategy. We're going to strategically use a little bit of a revenue raise. That is the tax increase I'm here to talk to you tonight. This has to go in front of voters. We're going to continue to right-size our government. This was hard work. We really began in earnest last year. It was painful and difficult. We reduced the size of our workforce, for example, by 25 FTE last year. There's more right-sizing underway because we wanted to present you a balanced set of solutions and not just put it on taxes or just put it on cuts. And third and finally, realizing strategic opportunities. That's getting creative of leveraging city assets. Next slide. So specifically on this police and fire tax, proposing to voters on town meeting day is a 5-cent increase to these two dedicated taxes. We have a lot of dedicated taxes. I'll come back for another hour and talk about splinter tax. We have two that go to police and fire. They can only be spent on police and fire services. 5 cents raises about $3 million. As you can see, our police and fire are our two largest departments. They total to be about $39 million total. Those splinter taxes of police and fire don't go anywhere near covering $39 million. So a small increase for this dedicated source helps us to continue to invest in community safety, which I think is pretty much everyone's top issue in this town. And finally, we were able to update this week. I appreciate there was bipartisan support by City Council to put this on the ballot. That's the first question after we propose it. And I appreciate that all of the new North End councilors agreed to give you all the opportunity to weigh in for this piece of the budget solution. Next slide. Very briefly, the median house in Burlington is valued at $353,000. So you can get an idea of what that increase of 5 cents means on the municipal side of the tax bill. It's about $285 for the year. Next slide. And these are our other solutions we're putting together to make that $10 to $12 million budget gap close. There's a lot of detail behind here, but this is an attempt at a quick summary. The $3 million is an important piece of the puzzle. That's where we are in our process right now. It goes to voters. We are continuing to do the right sizing to see if we can get $3 million of additional cuts, strategic cuts. I've directed all of my department heads to provide 5% and 10% reductions in what they draw from the general fund. That is very difficult, hard work. But again, I know we need to have a balanced set of solutions for all of you and not over-rely on any one thing. I want to kind of wrap up quickly so there's time for questions. Let's go to the last slide. We'll leave it up here because here's a summary of what I just tried to go through rather quickly around the gap, the 5 cent increase, and then, of course, a little bit more on the timeline for our budget. The budget does need to be a balanced budget, and it needs to be passed by June 30th. So we will open it up for questions. Thank you very much. And Kelly will come back up with this, or the team.
Hi, Emma. Thanks for being here. We appreciate your time, as always. So you said something about a 3 to 5 year plan. Looking forward is what your thought is about how to get this thing under control. So the last 3 years, including the upcoming years, an 11% increase, a 3% increase, and now a 9% increase. What do you see the next 2 years being to get to a point? What's the under control number going to look like? Those numbers are big numbers. Doesn't seem like we're getting it under control. It seems like we're going up.
Right. Well, a few of the other factors I didn't get into is we don't have federal grants coming in like we did. There's other factors that are much bigger than Burlington, so it's hard to predict necessarily even next year what will happen. I would like to get Burlington to a place of multi-year budgeting. I talked to other mayors around the country. They do biennium budgeting where you do a 2-year cycle so you can really start to plan things out. Again, that's a big systems shift for Burlington, so I'd like to get that into place. I don't have a crystal ball for you to tell you, but I will say that double-digit tax increases does not move this city closer to affordability. And so you are going to see some changes to services and programs in just this year's budget. So we have to work together to balance the reductions and making sure that we're clear about what the essential core services are in Burlington and what are things simply we have to let go of until that grand list is really generating more revenue. So stay tuned. It is really hard work. I wish that there was multi-year budgeting when I came in, but we're building a lot of systems that haven't been in place before to give us more transparency in our budget and give you more opportunity to participate as well. It's like a half answer. I wish I had a fuller answer for you.
Hi. Could you just help me understand how the 5% increase raises $3 million, just simply?
So it's 5 cents. So 5 cents on your property tax bill. I wish the CAO was here because she gets to rattle that off. But it basically generates, based on our tax base and taxable parcels in the city, it yields $3 million total. So every time we raise 1 penny on any of our splinter taxes, it raises $600,000. This is not your education side of your tax bill, though. So when you look at your tax bill, 2/3 of it is related to education and what Monica will talk about in a minute. We're to only the 1/3 of your tax bill, the municipal side of the tax bill.
Hi, Gary DeCarlos. Do you feel that you have enough aggressive grant writers to go after federal money, private foundation dollars, and other pockets of money that might help you? And I know it's short-term funds, but it sometimes can get you over the hump.
Sure. We have a great grants team within our DFA department, Department of Finance Administration, and they unfortunately have less options because the feds have turned off what used to be pretty consistent and reliable sources. There are also grant agreements that cities and states are being asked to sign now that go against our values as a city. Of course, we have to be mindful of that. The priorities are wildly changing at the federal level. So things, again, that were very consistent are getting tricky. Even constraints on the tried and true CDBG grants, Community Development Block Grants, it's like a weird band, CDBG, are coming with all these other catches, including the nonprofits that we tend to move all that money through. So we have a very good and smart and savvy team. The times are just unprecedented in terms of those funding sources. I will give a shout out. We have a few foundations that support our library, our police department, our parks department, and they are, of course, doing a lot of additional creative fundraising, and especially for the capital campaign related to our library right now. So when we can bring it hyper-local, that is the most reliable, sustainable way we can backfill what used to be coming from the feds right now.
One more person in the room, and then I see a hand online.
Hi, so you mentioned a lot about property taxes. Will this have any effect on rent, or is it only going to be for homeowners?
So this is for property owners. However, there's also property taxes that go towards non-homestead or commercial properties, which include rentals. And so it's really up to landlords about what gets passed through, of course. The city doesn't dictate that. Some landlords not only pass through 100% any tax increase, but then, frankly, raise more. We've seen rents in Burlington go up by 45% over the last several years. That is not how much property taxes have gone up over the last several years, so you can start to do the math there. I very much want the city to be able to get rent stabilized in our community. I want our state to rent stabilize. I wish the legislature would take this on so communities didn't have to grapple with this on our own because they become very unsustainable. Again, I'm happy to come back and talk about housing because there's a whole lot that we're starting to launch around not only building more housing, but working on the affordability aspect because so many folks do rent in Burlington.
Okay, we had someone online, Robert Bristow. I can invite you to unmute. Yep.
Okay, so the 5 cent increase, I believe that means 5 cents per $100 of assessed property value. Is that correct? And then if that is, that translates to $150 increase for a $300,000 property, a home assessed at $300,000, or $200 for a home assessed at $400,000. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not doing the math quickly with you, Robert, but it's about that, yes.
I can't hear you. I can't understand what you said.
I said, I think that sounds about right. I'm not doing the math on right next to you, but we can confirm that if you need that.
Yeah, I think that's what the meaning of a 5 cent increase is. It means 5 cents increase per $100 of assessed property value.
Yes, correct. That is for residential properties. There's a different formula for commercial properties.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. No questions for Kelly. Thanks, all. Okay. Well, please remember to vote, and I'll see you out on town meeting day. Thank you all for your attention.
Sorry, we did have one other person's hand up, if that's okay. I just wanted to. Oh, I'll bring you the microphone. Sorry, Lizzie. Got distracted. Distracted facilitator.
And I apologize if this isn't the right question right now, but at one point I remember hearing you float the idea, and I think it was when you were campaigning, about taxing based on income rather than property value. I'm someone who my income hasn't gone up at all, but my property value, thank you so much, City of Burlington, went up like $100,000. Great if I decide to sell, not so great when it comes to taxing. How can you help homes like mine? And I'm a single income home.
Sure. Well, the city, it's a good question because it's an important part around affordability. The city does not collect income tax nor your income levels, so it is something that would require charter changes and engagement on the state. One small step we attempted to make, but it didn't pass the city council, was an affordability metric to look at systems that are used in other parts of the country that would exempt a certain portion of your assessed value of your house from what we charge you for taxes. And we had proposed to explore a $30,000 exemption. That gets at exactly what you're speaking to. Around most people who have low or moderately income houses tend to have low to moderately incomes. And it was a simple way to start moving some affordability policy work forward. We proposed a non-binding question to get momentum going, and council declined to put it on the ballot. I do hope we start working on this together, council and mayor, because we need to start moving policy forward if we're going to do any of this, because it's usually a charter change, and charter changes take a long time to get across the finish line. So I'm hopeful that we can find other paths forward. Thank you.
With that, there is one more question. Sorry to keep you up there, but that's why you're here, right?
Hi, I'm Jane. I'm on the steering committee. It's good to see you, Mayor. I appreciate everything you're doing for our city. And I'm just going to, this isn't really a question, but I'm very upset that our city council will not allow a question, a non-binding question on the ballot, just to get people's input and how they feel about it. I really think that that's out of line for them. Anyway, I just was wondering, are there any plans to tax the 401(c)(3)s or the hospital and the college, UVM and Champlain College, because they occupy a great deal of the city, and that's my question.
It's a good question because, again, a lot of our parcels are not taxable. So meaning by state law, we can't tax. What we can do is a payment in lieu fee or fees on top of that. So sometimes you'll hear us talk about pilots or fee for service. They're actually kind of different, but I will not go into the details there. So we are actively negotiating our UVM fee for service with the new administration up there. That agreement expires June 30th. I have a very good relationship so far with Dr. Trump, who is the new president there, and I've been really laying some groundwork to say, look, classically we have charged you fee for service based on police and fire services to the campus. There's a lot of other things that the city supports that benefits the campus, and we are intertwined in what we've got to do. And you can go down the list about our water reservoir that's up there at campus that serves that whole part of the city, et cetera. She seems to be a more expansive thinker. She's done strong work with the mayor of Boise, including building a mutual affordable housing building that housed graduate students and families exiting homelessness. We'll see how it goes. I'm sending good vibes that way, but that's the kind of work we need to do. That's with established relationships. I was a bright-eyed mayor back in 2024, and I thought, look at all these people who are not paying taxes. We should do these agreements with others. It's negotiations because it's all voluntary. They're not required to pay us anything with the other nonprofits. So it's a beast of a task, and so we're slowly trying to build some momentum there. But back to where we're not going to overestimate what we can get in a year. This is long work, and we have to be thoughtful and strategic on how we build up these agreements with additional nonprofits.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Kelly Perkins from the REIB. And thanks for everyone's questions. And we're going to keep rolling with our agenda. So I'm going to invite Monica Ivankic from the school board to talk about the school budget.
Thank you, Sarah. And apologies, nobody else from the school district was able to be here with us this evening. I handed out a handout, and every year our leaders in the school district produce this handout that summarizes our budget for this upcoming school year. And so the school board has many meetings, typically starting beginning of December, where the budget gets debated, discussed, presented to us as the board. And then we question it, and like our mayor stated, that a lot of these numbers are estimates because the actual budget then doesn't get passed till end of June, and so this is the best that we can do. And today I'm joined by my board chair, Claire Wool. We were supposed to go on at 7:25. Yes. I know. Perfect timing. So I'm going to just show a few slides from our meetings. So Barbara, if you could go to We often start with some budgetary assumptions that get presented to the board. So there's always wages, 5% increase based on the settled bargaining agreement. So with the teachers, we settled a 3-year contract. Each year they have a 5% wage increase. Benefits, the benefits are negotiated statewide, and so there is an 8% increase in those. That's a problem here in Vermont, that the health insurance continues to rise, and that's a big cost of our education system. And then 6.6% is the last major increase that's included in this upcoming budget. It's a BHS BTC project. So this summer, the new school is going to be opening, and that's going to be an exciting time for our city and for the state of Vermont. And then federal funding, $2 million of program cost in excess of federal revenue. We're also going to be saving on rent because we're not going to have to rent downtown BHS, the Macy's building anymore, and also up Cherry Street, the BTC offices. And then our FY25 budget has a $2.4 million surplus. So the kind of bad news is that every year, so in blue is K through 5 students in our city. In red is the number of our BHS students, and in green is the middle school students. And we see with all 3 curves that the numbers are going down, especially with the K through 5. And some of that has, typically Burlington gets refugee resettled kids here, and that, especially with this federal administration, that's cut way down. So we're hoping with the new high school that the BHS numbers will be going up, but we have to consider this decline in student enrollment when we budget. And if you want to add anything, please. So we got presented with this budget that was recommended by our superintendent. So the entire budget is $140.8 million, which is a 4.47% increase from last year's budget. But the tax rate is going to be at a 4% increase. And then just reminders at the bottom that this year's budget is actually 4.5% lower than last year's, than FY25. And these numbers here rely on the $75 million tax buy-down that Governor Scott proposed. So December 1st, the letter came out that said across the state we're going to have a 12% increase in taxes for our education system. And within a week or two, Governor Scott announced that he's going to do this one-time money again, which is what he did last year, but last year it was like $115 million, so it was a big drop in the bucket. And it's just not a sustainable way of funding our education. So, next slide. Just a breakdown of the last 3 years. The ed fund spending, the first column, that's essentially the taxes that are coming from the state of Vermont. The next column is other funds like federal grants, Title I money. Title I money comes to us from the feds, and we qualify for it. And then other, like the ESSER funds, but that was back in FY25, the COVID relief funds. And so the third column is then the overall budget, so it's the first 2 columns added up. And so, like you'll see 2 years ago, that was almost $145 million. That included the ESSER funds, the COVID relief funds. And then column green is the property tax increase. So again, that's 4.7%. and that boils down to per pupil spending of $15,774.58. So, I guess the ed fund spending was inflated last year due to the construction project. And then again, we're saying, you know, these numbers rely on a 75 million buy down by the state. If that doesn't happen, then our increase would be close to 9%. So, next slide. And so if we look at some of these property tax estimates, several minutes ago you saw the city side of the taxes. Here, the first example is based on a $370,000 property value homestead. So that would result in about $266 per year, while a $500,000 homestead, that would result in $359 per year. And next slide. And so this, you'll be presented with this ballot language that essentially just has the total, the $140.8 million. The per pupil spending, $15.8 thousand, which is a 6.4% higher spending per pupil compared to last year. Fortunately, we have Act 27 is now law for about 2 years, and that act makes the funding across the state more equitable. Like Burlington has a lot of students that need their English learners, or their free and reduced lunch, or special ed, and educating children like that costs a lot more money. And until this act was our law, we were paying for a lot of that. Other districts that didn't have as many students with these conditions were getting a lot more money than they do now. So we're finally getting our fair share, but we did have this high school project that we needed to pay for. Would you like to add some? I think, was this the last slide? Yeah.
Part that is confusing. It is not a 6.4% tax increase. That is the up from the per pupil spending. So this is state statute. We have to present the wording like this. So it's our job over the next 2 months to communicate to citizens that it is a 4.7 tax increase. So when you get your ballot, if you could share that amongst your neighbors in wards 4 and 7, that's critical to our success.
And so we're open to questions. We have about 5 minutes or so for questions.
We have one from Sarah.
I don't know if you can do this in 5 minutes because I never understand it, but the relationship of we're approving your budget, right? But how does that relate to the tax increase? For instance, if the budget was not approved, there's still be some tax increase, is that right?
The budget failed to
Yeah.
approve, yes. We would have to come back to the voters with a reduced budget, make more cuts. We currently are cutting 11 teachers from our school district to meet the needs of the budget. And so we would come back to the voters for a second vote. But we have real costs. So as Monica shared, we have 7 bargaining units. 4.95 is what we had committed to the teachers for the next 3 years, this being year 1. So that's a real cost. Out of the 7 Chittenden County school districts, we are 3rd, 4th. We are not the highest paid school district. South Burlington is, followed by Essex and MMU. So we were extremely conscientious about that. So there are certain variables that we cannot change. So we would be reducing more staff if that was the case.
Yeah, and I apologize, I didn't include the slide that shows our reductions, but if you have this handout, the first budget at a glance, it's showing you that we're cutting $3.25 million in 10 FTEs for teachers, the downtown VHS rent, and some budgets and reorganization that's happening.
And this is the fourth iteration of a budget that we've been working on since December. So November, December, the tax letter comes out. We are presented with 3 to 4 different scenarios that we work with as a board. We meet regularly in the month of January, twice a week. In December. And we, our fourth budget is eventually to close an elementary school. So we are preparing based on enrollment, based on the fact that we have 6 elementary schools, that we would want to focus on the robustness of a school rather than spreading too thin if our enrollment moves in that trajectory, which we see potentially it is. But with new housing coming on the market as well, a lot of that housing, as we talked at City Council, is 1 to 2 bedrooms. It's not family-size housing that we see at Market Street in South Burlington. So we are optimistic about those numbers, but again, we have a roadmap ahead of us that looks to, we agree with, there has to be some sort of reform in this state. This is not sustainable. Sadly, we're not hearing about healthcare costs, or we are, but it's not tied to education funds, and 80% of our budget is our staff salaries and our healthcare costs. So we have remained level as a school district, fiscally responsible for the last 8 years. The only increases that we have been making is one that we were saddled with, which is our high school and tech center campus, so on the shoulders of all Burlingtonians. Unlike any other school district in the state, we have been faced with that absolutely unaffordable, pricing people out of this city because of that hardship. We had to do it. We have all these incredibly filled middle schools and elementary schools to going to the one high school. We have 9 ascending schools. Burlington Tech Center's population is strong. Our high school population is strong. Considering we are an anomaly out of the state, we don't lose students. Our numbers aren't going down as drastic as the rest of the state. So we're optimistic about our district as far as size and how we budget accordingly and staff accordingly based on those numbers. So incredibly conscientious financially, and we've appreciated the trust you have instilled in us. We are on time and on budget with our high school campus and tech center campus. We reported out, thank you. Sorry.
We're not borrowing the full $165 million.
Yeah.
I think you've
We
heard that
announced that in
announcement.
December, that we're $6 million under the targeted amount, so that is a big savings. Not savings, but it's not an added debt for the citizens of Burlington. So again, thank you so much for your support. We'll take more questions.
Thank you both so much. And
We only have 30 more.
yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if we have time for any more questions, but we're going to
You know how there
have a
is,
super quick one?
you can attract students from other, from districts that don't have high schools. Is there any effort to max out our high school once it opens, because it's going to really be much more attractive?
Yes, school choice is definitely a thing, as we know, in the state of Vermont. And yes, before we did our research as far as building it and capacity, we learned that in Massachusetts and New Hampshire towns, when you built a high school, students from other Catholic schools or private schools tended to go to the new high school. So we were conscientious about that. So based on that size, and as far as marketing, yes, that'll be something that we will look at. And there's a certain number of students that we can accommodate. But yes, thank you for that.
I think that number is 1,150.
Yeah.
And right now we have 900, not quite
970. Yep, great question.
Pretty close. Thank you both so much. Unfortunately, no more time for questions. And I just wanted to shout out to Monica. Thank you for being on our school board I know you're not running again this year. So I just wanted to extend gratitude from the community.
Thank you, everyone. It's been 8 years.
Thank you so much. That is perfect. No worries. I'm holding all of the microphones now. Okay, thank you, everybody. And it's always great that there are more questions. Unfortunately, we can't get to everyone and bring the handouts home that everybody has brought. So we're going to move on to inviting the candidates who will be on the town meeting day ballot up to introduce themselves and have time for questions. And before we get all the way into it, I just wanted to share some general guidelines for our questions for our candidates and inviting them up here. So candidates, we will give you 3 minutes to introduce yourself and share why you're running for the positions. And we ask that we'll try to give priority to the folks who are in the ward that those candidates are running in. Of course, if there are additional questions, those people will be invited, but we are hoping to prioritize folks in those wards and ask that nobody asks a second question until everyone asks the first. Try to keep your questions to about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and the candidates try to keep your answers to about a minute. And then asking questions, we do ask that questions are directed at both candidates to allow a general conversation versus kind of pointed questions so that they can both respond. So our agenda, I'm going to invite the Ward 7 City Council candidates up to introduce themselves and stand for questions. So Evan Litwin and Bill Standen. I don't know if one of you wants to go first or... You want to start?
You guys pick.
Okay. Evan, go ahead.
All right,
Your 3
great.
minutes starts now.
Well, thank you. So my name's Evan Litwin. Many of you know me, Ward 7 City Councilor. This is the end of my first term. I use he, him pronouns. They, them is also great for me. I live in Cambrian Rise. I see some of my Cambrian Rise neighbors around, which is a rapidly changing section of Ward 7. And I'm just wrapping up my first year, and it's been a whirlwind of issues amongst a whirlwind of national and a whirlwind of global issues. As you saw from the mayor's presentation on the budget, we have some serious decision-making and work to do together to identify what we believe as a community are essential city services, so that we can weather these financial storms. I think the mayor did a really great job of sort of giving an overview of what all the different pressures and the different angles that that's coming to. I'm a lifelong renter. I don't know what it's like to own a home. And I'm very privileged to live in a Champlain Housing Trust community for the past 11 years, and we're very lucky to have them here. I think we'd be in a terrible position if we did not have so much affordable housing. And we are bringing more affordable housing online. So I'm very committed to working on that. I'm the chair of the Community Development Neighborhood Revitalization Committee, which also has voting rights on the Housing Trust Fund. And we just distributed around $800,000 or so to different housing projects, including a new Champlain Housing Trust building that will open, I think, next year. So that's very exciting. I have been committed to, I think, fair, thoughtful consideration that everybody's living situation is different. Some are in homes, some are in apartments, some are in fixed incomes. You know, everybody's got a different situation. And I really do try to get out into the community and understand what your lived experience is and what's going on for you. That has been, I think, my favorite part of the job is constituent services. If you've ever seen my card on your door, I knock all year round. So if I missed you, I was there. And I've got 30 seconds left. I work in public health. I'm very committed to thinking about whole community solutions to our public health problems that we're facing. That means centering the folks who need help the most, but also thinking about the community that those folks exist within. Last thing I will say is I spent 3 years on the Housing Board of Review. I'm pretty up to date on our codes, our ordinances, and I've brought forward resolutions and legislation every 6 to 7 weeks since I took office. Thank you. Out of time.
Hi. Hello. My name is Bill Standen. I'm a progressive. I'm running for Ward 7 City Councilor. I grew up in a quiet, suburbanized farm town in Stratham, New Hampshire. Sorry, is that better? Okay. I grew up in a quiet, suburbanized farm town called Stratham, New Hampshire. It was kind of one of those situations where we had 8 towns that went to one high school in Exeter, New Hampshire. And so, I've been there being packed into a school and forced to learn, long bus rides and everything like that. When I graduated high school, I had no drive to continue education. High school kind of beat it out of me. But my mom knew better, and she convinced me to try Champlain College because they had the video game academy, and I liked video games. So I applied, and my application game was so bad that they offered me a totally different major. I did not get into the game academy, but I've been here for 10 years now, and every single time that I get one of those sunsets over the Adirondacks, one of those ones that it gives you that sense of awe. Oh, I love it. And that's why I really want to step up and make sure that this is a sustainable home for all the people that want to live here. In just the short 10 years that I've been here, I know people that have already been priced out. I know a lot of people that were from Burlington when we went to college together, and they couldn't afford to live here when they graduated with a college degree. Stratham, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know how it is now, but Stratham was a more conservative town when I grew up, and so when I came to Burlington, it was like a kind of a liberal paradise. I was like, oh my God, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is society. As I stayed here into 2020, and I was really proud. That shining liberalism came through when we all voted to decrease the police department cap by 30%. I thought that was a city taking a stand. I thought that was something really good that we did. But now, after the crisis of 2020, we have fallen into this crisis where we can't take any action to sustain the great decisions that we did make. And one of those things, just because we mentioned it earlier, the tax change charter that just was not allowed to be voted on, that we can't even talk about what the actual policy of the tax change would affect because we can't vote on it. We don't know what we think. And so I really just need to stand up for our democracy, and I hope that you will support me and stand with me. Thank you.
Thank you both. We'll invite folks to ask questions. I see 2 hands up. 3 hands.
Yeah, you kind of, I can't remember your name.
Bill.
Bill and Evan. I know Evan. My question really was, you kind of addressed it at the end, Bill. Why can't questions be put on the ballot so that the citizens can voice their thoughts? We're not stupid and we're not children. I don't like what's happened with the anti-apartheid. All we want it is on the ballot. We're not saying put this statement in place. We want the opportunity to exercise our democratic rights. Okay? And the same thing with, I already said it, with the mayor's proposal for the low-income housing tax cuts. Why can't we? Question for both of you.
So I feel the same way. I don't know like how polling works or anything like that, but for federal elections, they have polling to understand how people feel. in different demographics and things like that. I know that we do have things like that around here, but reaching out directly on the ballot to your voters to understand how they feel, that's democracy 101. I thought that was like 6th grade. I don't know.
Thank you. And I'm happily will answer the next question first, to be fair to my colleague here. So I appreciate the question and the passion behind it. There's two big ones there. The first one I'll start with is the tax fairness question. The question that was being proposed by the administration was, do you think we should still keep looking at this? We can still keep looking at this. The mayor actually walked back, bringing it forward in committee, and you can watch that committee meeting November 10th in the Charter Change Committee, and said we don't actually want to bring it to the voters yet because it's not ready. But what they did ask for was this advisory question, which we did not think, or at least I did not think, was ready for prime time. And I will answer that question, which is we are 2 weeks away, roughly speaking, from ballots coming out to discuss what would have meant. We just saw that our city budget is $107 million. This proposal was going to move $107 million, so the same amount of the city budget, around in a complex tax structure that was going to reallocate it to the renters of the city. Okay, so rents were going to go up, and it was being misrepresented, and the commercial properties, hundreds of thousands of dollars of which the commercial properties are already fleeing, so that creates a tax spiral when they leave, and hundreds of thousands of dollars are going to be reallocated to downtown. So all I said, and all I think we said, was let's take our time with this. This was very rushed. The wording was not accurate in my opinion, and we needed to have more discussion because rents were absolutely going to go up by a bare minimum of 3 to 4%. And I checked many buildings, including some of the buildings that I know folks live in, and it was, I will just say this, it was incorrectly stated by my colleague, Councilor Newbeezer, that the North Avenue Co-op, the former trailer park, ABC Avenue, would have seen their tax bills go away. That's not true. Only a portion of them are homestead properties. Some of them are renters, and they would have seen their taxes go up. So it's a complex issue. North Avenue apartments, their rents were going to go up. So I said on the floor that I thought we should have a suite, and it should be ready for the voters before we throw this question. And the mayor and everyone can still hold committee meetings, have conversations, come to NPAs, come to city council, and we can still discuss it. But putting this question on the ballot did not make sense to me. So I'll
Thank you,
stop
Evan.
there.
Thank you. We have another question in the back. I think you have a microphone.
Yeah, thanks. My name is my name is Annie Lawson. I'm on the steering committee. I'm in Ward 4. My question actually was very similar to the one that Jane just asked. So, Evan, I appreciate you answering that. I think what I'll pivot to as more of a response in hearing that and wondering if you take a moment just to address it. It was easy to understand your no vote as being in opposition to the mayor without having the context that you just gave, because there have been times in the past you have not worked collaboratively with the mayor, and it's made it hard for me as a voter to give the benefit of the doubt that what's happening with a no vote is not opposition. And so I'm wondering if you can give me a few examples of times when you have worked to lift up the work of the mayor and really stood in solidarity with the work that the administration is doing in good faith to bring this city to a better place.
I think that's a really interesting question. It's a good question. I don't think that I have worked against the mayor or non-collaboratively, but the role of the legislature, in this case the city council, is a check and a balance on the executive. And when I agree with her, I agree with her. As I said about the budget this evening, I thought she gave a really great overview of what our budget situation is. When she brought forward the question about the 5-cent increase, all of the South End councilors voted no to put it on the ballot. I voted yes. Why did I vote yes? No, I'm not taking a position that I think you should pay $200 more to sustain the $3 million of increases that are going to be necessary to just sustain our current level of police and fire. That's actually from our union contract, and that's more complicated than we have time for tonight. But I wanted you to have the opportunity to vote on anything that was going to cost you money, that was going to affect the value, your pocketbook. And so we do need to have a community conversation about what that increase would look like. But I supported that, and I supported you having the opportunity for that because that is a very straightforward question, financial question. I also am very aligned with her on how we're dealing. I'm very excited that she's hosting meetings with her leadership right now about how do we respond to ICE. Okay, I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning reading airport contracts 2 weeks ago to make sure that ICE cannot use our TSA facilities as we were putting the TSA contract up, and I often only have a few days to read dozens and dozens and dozens of pages of contracts to make sure. And I had meetings with the airport director Friday afternoon before council to make sure. So I do collaborate with her when I can, and sometimes we just don't see things eye to eye, and I'm getting the time's up. So I'm sorry it's like a half answer.
Yeah, I wanted to invite Bill to also respond to that question in general, to how will you work with the mayor coming up, just to make it an even kind of question, if that's okay.
Thank you. Hello? Hello. Okay, there we go. All right, thank you. Yeah, so I really hope that the mayor gets re-elected because I don't know, I have seen her make probably 5 presentations like that where she goes through a presentation like a slide deck, like a surgeon. It is crazy the amount of knowledge that she is able to retain from slide to slide and how she's able to weave her her points together. It's incredible, and it's mastery in my opinion. And I would love to be able to work with her and learn from her in that capacity.
Thank you. Another question right here. You'll have to stand. Okay. Hi. Something that I think is really important is when you all vote, you're not voting for you, you're voting for us. So how are you going to creatively get our feedback? Like we've had presentations, we voice our concerns here sometimes, and I'm not sure it always reflects. So how are you going to make sure you're voting based on what we feel? Maybe not putting the onus all on us, but how are you going to put the onus on yourself to get our feedback, keep us informed, and make sure we're engaged and our votes are being heard?
Thank you. That was a great question. I was in the Army Reserve for 6 years. I joined when I was in college, and I was a 68 Whiskey, which is a combat medic. Why I'm wearing the jacket. I went into that when I was 20, and that was such a early moment to realize how crazy it is to put certain decisions on one person, right? Sometimes that's just how it comes down, and somebody is just the person that has to make the decision in that moment. But that's why we come up with democracy. That's why we all come together collectively, peacefully, and we talk, we communicate, and eventually we do get to a vote because eventually we do need to find out what we all think. But if we can't vote on issues, then we should be voting here. We should be voting about a bunch of different things so that we can all move forward together and show by record this is what we believe as Ward 7. This is what we believe as Burlington.
Thank you, Bill. Evan, if you could keep it to 1 minute, thank you.
Yes, I'll try to keep to that 1 minute. One of the things that I love the most, and some folks in the room know that this is how I cope with the stress of city council, is when I'm feeling a little down, I go out with my cards and I knock on your neighborhoods. I pick streets that maybe I haven't been on before, and I try to diversify around. I might not have been to your street. I hope to. Please invite me to your street. I'm happy to come. I do like going door to door. It gives me a really clear understanding from folks of like what's going on for them in their day-to-day and what's impacting them. So I'll get one angry email about the speed bumps on Ethan Allen Parkway. Have you heard that yet? And then I went door to door and I hit 50 doors in about 2 hours. I test drove over the speed bumps, and all I got was positive feedback from every single door that I knocked on and some stories. I try to email people. I try to communicate on Front Porch Forum, social media as much as I can. I have a little email list, which I have a flyer that I didn't put on the table before, but will circulate around where you can sign up to get emails where I can share that information with you. And one of the pieces of feedback I have received is that I respond to everyone. So if you call me, I will call you back. If you email me, I will follow up. I will say the longer I stay on the council, the more disgusting my email box gets. And if your email gets lost, please just call me. That is the type of city councilor I want to be, because I don't want to be a long-term politician. I wanted to step up to serve my community at a time where I thought maybe I had the skills to serve. At some point, maybe that won't be the case. But I'm all about constituent services. Okay, I
Thank
see.
you
I'm
so
getting
much.
the.
I want to squeeze in one more question that we have right here. So.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank both of you for, for running. I mean, it's an incredible thing an incredible amount of responsibility. Because all these people here and many people who can't make it here tonight are counting on you to keep the city we love. So first of all, I want to thank you both for that. I appreciate it. And the second thing is I do realize that Evan has an advantage here because he is an incumbent. But I do want to ask, how do you feel, what is it in your lives, your own lives, that you've done to work for your committees or for your communities? Have you been on committees? How have you participated already to make your community better?
Thanks, Joan.
So I think I'm first, but I truly, respectfully do not have enough to tell you how many things I've been involved in community. I am happy to have that conversation offline. Prior to running for city council, I spent 3 years serving on the Housing Board of Review, which is a quasi-judicial body that adjudicates disputes between landlords and tenants over security deposits and code violations. I learned a lot there, and that's what prepared me. Prior to that, I spent 9 years working in what was called the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at UVM. It has changed names many times, and now under the Trump administration again. I have established a variety of different programs over the years, volunteered in I don't know how many different things, ranging from food drives to starting up chapters of the NAACP to starting a project to rename inappropriately named geographic bodies of water, and I've been involved in, I would say, justice-related research and advocacy from the beginning. I created the first program in Massachusetts that we're aware of to bring Nigerian judges, lawyers, and scholars to the United States to study and learn alternative dispute resolution. I went to Haiti after the earthquake. I'm out of time, but I'm happy to talk more another time.
Yeah, I want to give Bill an opportunity to respond as well.
Yeah, so I have only just recently started getting involved in like more grassroots community organizing, but I have for the past 10 years been working in the community as just a working class person. I've held a bunch of different jobs. I used to work security downtown at the Economic Services Division, and that was really where I saw like the people struggling in the city, and I was like, oh my God, like I need to do more to help. And now I work at the Red Cross, and again, I'm still trying to do like that good work, but when I keep thinking about it, it leads me to here. It leads me to getting. It leads me to trying to reach out to all of you and get elected to lead us through hard times and hopefully into easier times.
Thank you both. I just wanted to invite one more voice just to not ask a question, but voice something.
Awesome, thank you. Hello, Farine Paris, Ward 4. And as again, this isn't a question, this is just trying to go back to the first original person who spoke today, Emily, kind of just naming, there's a lot of energy in this community, and what are we doing to take care of us? And the only way that we can move forward with true action is if we are honest with what is this moment in this current time, not the Burlington that we think, but what is in this moment right now. And I've never seen a community so stressed and tense and scared. People are, they have one check away from mortgage. People are single parents. Racism is wild right now. And the council isn't getting along. Y'all aren't getting along. And I say this out of love, because if y'all aren't getting along, then that energy goes into the water of this community. It impacts the heart of the Queen City. And I deeply need us, because the same way we're talking about at the national level, Democrats, Republicans, it's right here. And it hurts. It gets in the way of the work that just needs to happen yesterday, a month ago. And so what can we do to invite us to be able to bring forward what's really on the hearts and minds of us? There are people who are not here in this room. Look across, people are missing, voices are missing. And we as a collective community need to start centering this concept of love. Like for real, like a lot of decisions are being made in fear, or reaction out of fear, but what would it look like if it centered this idea of love, this idea of compassion, because each and every one of us just wants to do this thing called life, and we're deserving of thriving. But it's really hard watching y'all go at it. So I want to invite us as a collective Burlington to really center what it would look like for us to align energies so that we can take care of each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for their questions. Thank you, Evan and Bill. With respect to our agenda, I think we have to move on to allow our other candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves and talk. And yeah, thank you so much. All right, there's only 2 working microphones now, but we're getting there. Yeah, Sarah Carpenter for Ward 4 to introduce yourself, and you'll have about 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you. I love coming here. I come every month, so I'm happy to be here. For those of you who don't know and saw me waddle up here, I'm still recovering from some back surgery, making little bits of progress. Those little nerves have minds of their own, but I'll get to it. I, unlike Evan, will probably not be doing so much door knocking this session, but you may hear from me by email and call, and you're welcome to do that. So again, I'm Sarah Carpenter. I'm your current city councilor for Ward 4. I've served 3 terms, and this would be my 4th term. I started, was elected in 2020, just in time for COVID. So got to see the city through COVID and many iterations. I am a lifelong Burlingtonian, and this is my home. And when I retired, after a long career, I ran Cathedral Square Housing, which many of you know, and then I ran the state housing finance agency for many, many years. So my professional life has been in the nonprofit world, working with affordable housing, working with government. And when I retired, I thought, I want to do a little something back for the city that I love, and that really drove me to running for city council. And what can I offer? What have I offered to city council? I think I bring an expertise in getting things done. We have a big city to run. It's not easy to do it. We have to make very thoughtful decisions, and decisions with you all in mind. And I think that's the role of the city council, to make our city as strong and as robust as possible. And it is a system of checks and balances, and what we spend a tremendous amount of time on is looking at an issue that's presented to us or that's come up. We mull it over. We try best we can to get feedback from the citizens around how would you like it to see? Or even more proactively, we look at what's being proposed and make sure that it serves us. I have served on a number of committees. I currently serve on the Board of Finance and the Ordinance Committee. Ordinance may not seem very sexy, but that's how we get things done in the city. It's complicated. It includes zoning, and we need to spend a lot of time making sure that it is a good step forward and creates no harm. So a lot of my time is just that, examining what's before us, making sure it creates no harm. I was very pleased to be involved with the neighborhood code as one example of something that just takes a lot of thought. It's not, being a counselor isn't easy. So I'll answer questions as we go, but thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I see one hand for a question.
Hi. Per the last comment that was just made, what can you personally do to make the council run more effectively?
Thank you. I agree with the last the person who spoke. We do have problems, and I'm not sure. I actually do think one of my strengths, and often behind the scenes, is to try to get people to tone it down. It gets very personal, very quick. And I think I've had a style. I think people will, if you knew the work I did in the state legislature, that was a style. Take a deep breath, let's calm it down, let's get the facts. And so don't talk in superlatives, talk in facts. And I think sometimes we don't spend the time to talk in facts. There was a lot of stuff just around the tax fairness recommendation. There was a lot of facts underneath it. It wasn't an ill-thought thing to not decide to do it on the ballot now. It was we needed more data. And I see those things a lot of times. A current counselor made a comment about the water bill at the Burlington Country Club. I have a 14-page memo, the result of which was an overbilling by the city of Burlington. It wasn't to cut the country club a deal. It was to rebate them some money we overcharged. So we have, sometimes we just leap into things, and we need to tone it down a notch and look at the facts. And I try to do that with my colleagues.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other questions? Especially any Ward 4 residents? Got one right in the front.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey.
I just wanted to know how you voted on the mayor's advisory idea around tax exempt status for $30,000.
I voted against putting it on the ballot. It was an advisory question, as Evan explained, to keep looking at it. We can look at it, but I really didn't think the work had been done. Several people on that committee who did not recommend it, including our North Councilor Mark Barno and former Councilor Karen Paul, all observed that it needed more work. And I think it does need more. It's a tax fairness question. It's not an affordability. It will shift the burden from one group to another. I will get a break, as one example. I get $150. Northgate Apartments has to pay $7,000 more. We just need more work to see if this is the right question for us. We don't, it's like, what do they call that thing where you punch it and comes out different sides? Whack-a-mole. Thank you. It's a little whack-a-mole, and we need to take the time to figure that out. How does it affect a small business? We can get it on the ballot if that's enough energy from the community, but I didn't think the way the advisory question was written was the right way to do it.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I don't think that we have time for any other questions, unfortunately. I do want to give a chance for our school board candidates to have a chance to introduce themselves, and we're already getting pretty close to 8:15. So,
Thank you all, and give me a
Thank you
call.
so much.
Please call me. or
Sarah is
email me.
here at almost every NPA meeting, very accessible. So thank you so much, Sarah. With that, I wanted to invite Polly Erickson from Ward 7 and Melissa Zigmont from Ward 4. And these candidates aren't running against each other. They are both running for school board commissioner in those separate wards. So join me in welcoming them. Thank you. There's 2 working microphones.
I will not need 3 minutes. Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Zigmont. I am a resident in Ward 4, running to fill some very big shoes. Our current commissioner has decided to step away, so I am running to replace Martine Gulick. I have been a resident of Burlington for about 4 years now. I have 2 children, both in the public school education system here, one in elementary and one at the high school. He is very excited to be able to enjoy that new building next year. And I've always been a very strong advocate of public education. I feel it is absolutely necessary as just a pillar of our communities to bring us together and to really make sure we are providing equitable opportunities for every child to fulfill their potential. If you have questions, I am always around. I am very active in the PTOs and the advisory boards. If you stop by Tom's Coffee, I am usually there at the end of the month. And I am here for any questions for anyone in Ward 4. And if you live in Ward 4, you've probably seen me around. And that's pretty much it. And I look forward to meeting all of you.
You want me to go before questions? Oh, okay, right. So my name's Polly Erickson. I do not want to trip over the board. I'm running for school board commissioner in Ward 7. I was very fortunate to be recruited by Monica and other friends. I have a middle schooler at this very same middle school. He's really enjoying it. I myself am the product of public schools in Philadelphia. I'm very committed to what I think is the role of the school board, which is just good governance of our schools. Our children they really need us to be thoughtful and considerate about their education and how we support it and how we pay for it and how we make it equitable. I have a particular commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and support for the global majority because that is the family that I was raised in. That's the family that I'm currently a part of. I currently work at UVM running a research center there, but I've spent like 30 years of my life overseas being both a majority and a minority. And just a real pleasure and honor to be here with you all, and I hope that you vote. And like Melissa said, I'm here, and I love the Burlington schools, and I'm really pleased. Thank you.
Thank you both for stepping into this. Are there any questions for these candidates while we have them up here? Okay, we have one right here. And if you guys don't mind sharing a mic, that'd be great.
Do up.
Hi, I'm Joy Ming. I actually teach here at Hunt. I'm an Ward 4 resident also. We have a lot of students of the global majority, especially of refugee and immigrant communities here in the New North End, who aren't represented at our NPAs and maybe even at other levels of organizations where their voice should be heard. So I'm just wondering if you have any ideas for how to better engage those communities, especially knowing their language barriers and other barriers that may be in the way for them in being more engaged with our local community and our schools. Thanks.
I will go first as the Ward 4 resident. That's an excellent question. It's something we grapple internally with our PTOs sort of every, I think, month when we do meet, as we're building these activities and these community events, how are we making sure, one, we're representing everyone, but more importantly, how do we make sure that we are making sure everyone is aware of what's happening? Sometimes you can't be inclusive if you can't actually inform in the correct way for the individuals that are there. Do I have a boxed answer for how to do that? No. I know in my previous experience, we have absolutely utilized the amazing services that the Burlington School District has in terms of their translation services. We're also really embracing the idea of that one-to-one connection being one of the most impactful ways that we can. So it's, can we talk to the student directly in like a very natural way? Does someone know the family that then we can begin that conversation with? Our current president, who I adore for the CP Smith PTO, has been a wonderful advocate of just go and talk to the family. I think a lot of times we try to rely on email or flyer and like these big gestures when sometimes all you need is a simple handshake. So especially in a small ward like Ward 4, I would love to see us do more of that and build that community that way.
Yeah, so I think that so as the mother of a child of color, I think the first problem is that there's very little representation at the staff and senior management level. And I know Monica's told me this is a problem we've been dealing with for a very, very long time. I did applaud CP Smith, and I'm really happy to be at Hunt and have a few more students of color, including a principal who is herself African American. I can't tell you how much that representation matters. I really do applaud our current superintendent, Tom Flanagan. I think he has done an amazing job of paying attention to not just talking, but also trying to walk the talk around representation and inclusion. Unfortunately, I don't know that PTOs are the right way to reach the parents and families of the global majority. I think that, to me, it feels like being in the PTO is, sorry, Mon, I love the PTO. I got involved through the CP Smith PTO, but that's a luxury for a lot of families, and I think the advisory groups and other efforts at reaching parents and students around what really matters to them, which is how their students are doing, how they're disciplined, what curriculum is speaking to them. And so that's actually a lot of what motivated me to run for the school board, is to get up to a higher level, because I'm deeply committed to representation and inclusion of the students of the global majority. And I love Burlingtonians, but that lack of lived experience is something we have to work really, really hard to overcome. So that is my deep passion. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Thanks everybody for sticking around for this meeting. We did have one last word with all this amazing conversation about getting connected. Linda just wanted to, 30 seconds, really quick. Go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. I'm Linda Ayer. There are 3 of us in Burlington, 1 in Colchester. There's a lot of room for making mistakes. I'm wondering if people could gather and we can get names and phone numbers for anyone interested in forming a group to talk about how to protect ourselves and to resist. I'll also post it on Front Porch Forum. Just to give you my bona fides, I've been in Burlington for 56 years. I put 3 boys into public school and used to be a ward clerk in Ward 6. Just new here, so if anybody's interested in giving their info, that'd be great.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. A couple more thank yous. Joy Ming, who is a teacher here at Hunt, helped us get into the building and host our meeting here. Thank you, La Boca, for the food, Jane and Steve for serving us, and all of you for being here and showing up. Keep doing it. Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.